Hey guys, Chris McGraw, Senior Producer of Autoblog. I'm here with the 2020 Subaru Outback XT. It's the first turbocharged Subaru Outback to hit the market since 2009. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how I like to camp in it, give you two options. Got a $10 setup option and a $300 setup option. So let's check it out. So first things first, if you're gonna be sleeping in your Subaru, there's a couple things you gotta do before you even fold the seats down. The first thing, you got this cover in the back of the Outback, and it slots in right here and right over there. So you take that out, and then once that's out, you can press this button on the seat, and it folds down nicely, and then we walk around. Press this button, and that'll fold down again. Now, the nice thing about the 2020 Outback is that it doesn't have a huge bump. My wife and I have camped out of our Crosstrek, which is a lot smaller of a vehicle. We've driven to Colorado National Monument, Arches National Park, Aspen, Grand Canyon, all the time while sleeping in the back of our car. For now, we're gonna hook up this Outback just with the sleeping pad. So we got that all flat. And I bought this Rarest Z-Rest sleeping pad. I got it at a Sierra trading post for $9.99. So this is the $10 option. Take this bag out here. And yeah, so here's the Z-Rest sleeping pad. It's comfortable for one person only. It's not thick, it's not wide enough for two. And so what you can do, here, let me hop in the back here. All right, so now we're in the back of the Outback. And the easiest way with this $10 setup, so go out, spend your $10 on a Rarest Z-Rest sleeping pad. Folds out like an accordion. It's a lot more manageable than having to roll one up and have it come unrolled on you while you're driving. So you set that up, and the way that I've slept in my Subaru, when we first started, we laid down our sleeping pad, then you get your sleeping bag on top of that, and we put our heads towards the middle just because there was like a slight incline. In this Outback, there is still a slight incline, but you can compensate for that at a lot of campsites and maybe park your car a different way, because I find it to be much more comfortable to put my head by the rear windshield. For some reason, I just sleep better that way. If it's dark out and you're in the middle of nowhere, you can look up and see through the rear windshield and look up at the stars, which is really nice. Plus, what I do when I'm camping, you don't want to keep all the windows closed, because then it gets really moist inside with everyone's breath, and you can actually cause your headliner to start to get moldy if you do this a lot. So what I have is just some screens. I'll put the link in the description. They are basically just mesh that go over the door, so you can roll down the window as much as or as little as you want. In the winter, probably just crack it just a little bit to let that moisture out, but try not to let so much of the cold air in. In the summer, I keep those bad boys rolled down all the way, keep the front ones rolled down all the way. There's even some mesh magnetic mesh that you can use for the sunroofs. You can keep that one open. When we were in Colorado National Monument, just outside of Fruita and Grand Junction, the temperature during the day was 105 degrees. Thankfully, out here in the desert, it gets a lot cooler at night, but even cooler at night was still low 80s, high 70s. So we kept all those things open, and it prevents bugs from getting in, or any other critters for that matter, though they definitely will not stop a bear. So if you're in bear country, maybe rethink your whole window situation and keep it only slightly cracked. I'm not an expert on bears. I don't pretend to be. I don't claim to be. So don't sue us. So the next thing you need is a sleeping bag. Currently in Golden, where I am at, it is 28 degrees out. So I brought a big 0 degree sleeping bag. So got that, shove that over there. Just a side note on your sleeping bags, you should not keep them compressed when they're in storage at home. So they come with these compression bags. Do not keep them in there long term, because what you want out of a big sleeping bag like this is a lot of loft with the insulation. And that's what's going to trap the warm air and keep you warm. If you are just shoving it in the bag there and just having it compressed all the time, it's going to have a harder time lofting, and it won't keep you as warm. So even though it says 0 degree, it might only actually be rated to much less than that. Now you got some insulation inside the car. Obviously you can turn on the heat. I would not leave it running all night. I wouldn't even leave it running when I'm in the back if I'm gonna stay here for a long time. So if I lay it like this, normally the first thing I do when I hop into the car, especially if I'm going to be sleeping in the back, is take off my boots before I get in so I'm not tracking any mud. Plus, normally when I'm with my wife, she'll sleep in the area that I'm setting up, and then I sleep on this side. We have our sides of the car. And so from there, just slide right in, and there you go. It's very comfortable. I am 5'7", so it's not difficult for me to be able to fit in the rear of a car like this, evidenced by the fact that I can easily fit in my Crosstrek. That being said, this is much more comfortable than the Crosstrek is for many reasons, especially since I have the older model Crosstrek of 2014. But this is very comfortable. You got a little bit of padding with the Z-Rest, and I usually bring a pillow. Totally up to you. If you're camping out of your car, the nice thing is you don't have to carry all this stuff in a backpack with you. But I would say it's super comfortable. Just even if I put my boots underneath my head just to raise my head a little bit, very comfortable. Very nice way to camp. At 5'7", my head is a few inches from the top, and my feet are on the headrest, so they're not dangling down into that empty space. If you're taller and you don't like the feeling of your feet dangling down, you can take your luggage, throw it down there, and just kind of fill the footwell. All right, so that was the $10 sleeping pad. Let's check out a $300 option. All right, so the $300 option we currently have stowed away on top of the roof while we were filming the $10 option. Let's slide it in here. So this is the X-Ped Mega Mat Duo, and as the name would suggest, it is big and it's for 2 people, which is super nice if you camp with a significant other or just even like to roll around in the back. Plus, it is almost like perfectly sized for the back of this Outback. I'm actually going to move my bag a little bit here. I'll throw that up in the front seat. Yeah, there we go. And so there it is, snug up against the seats. These seats aren't all the way up, by the way. I did not need them to be all the way up. In the Crosstrek, I do need them to be all the way up in order to fit in the back. So here's the X-Ped Mega Mat Duo. Let's get the sleeping bag over there. You can see it comes right. You even got some room here. Let's hop in and see how comfortable it is. All right, got my boots off. Now I'm sitting in the back, and this is like a glorious mattress. And for $300, it very well should be. That is a lot of money to spend on an air mattress for camping. You got to be really serious, or just not care about spending money. We actually got this 25% off during a sale, so the actual cost is somewhere closer to $400. I think it's like $370 or $380 if you buy it, not on sale. But it's got a bunch of chambers that you can fill up with air. Comes with a little hand pump, which is this thing right here. So it's super easy to use. You can use your foot or your hand and fill it up. And like I said, it comes close to, it looks like it's almost made for the Outback. Let me adjust this here so we can see. I'll set up the sleeping bag like I did in the last one. The nice thing about it being air, unlike the other one, is that this XPED MegaMat Duo can be as soft or as firm as you like. So right now I have it pretty soft, but I'm still not hitting, I'm not feeling the ground or the floor of the Subaru that much. Hopping into the sleeping bag, I am going to guarantee you that this feels more comfortable. And yes, it's definitely more comfortable. With the MegaMat Duo, I don't even need a pillow. It is supremely comfortable. I could live out of this Subaru and be totally fine, which is obviously why I own the MegaMat Duo. And that's something that we bought. It's not something that was given to us. I bought both of these items, and that's how I feel about each. Now, one thing we didn't talk about is, where does all your stuff go? You're going on a big long road trip. You got a bunch of gear in the back, got a bunch of gear in the rear seat possibly, if there's no kiddos or dogs filling up that area, or cats, I guess. You can bring your cat on your road trip too. What I do, I have a Thule roof rack. It's a Thule Canyon XT. I'll link, we have a whole camping article that I'll link below that shows all this stuff. And the Canyon XT isn't an enclosed roof rack. I have a bungee net that goes over it and keeps everything in there. And so that allows me to keep a lot of the stuff that's in the back actually on top of the car and secure it on the car with either ratchet straps or that bungee net while I'm sleeping. I also put a lot of stuff in the front seats. If you're not driving, you don't need the front seats, so you can put all your stuff or a lot of your stuff up there, and then I usually keep my cooler outside of the car. And that frees up a lot of room for you in the back. A couple other things that the Outback has that I find super convenient is you have this little area here with a little net. I do not have this in my Crosstrek. This is really nice for glasses, phone, keep things less cluttered. And you got it on both sides. My shoes are taking up this area. So you have an area here. There's no bungee net, but there's a nice area for you to keep your, whatever you would keep normally on a side table at your house while you're sleeping. You can keep it there. We also have over here a power outlet, which would be nice. You can charge your phone, and you got easy to use. This will pop the seats back up back here. One thing that I wish the Outback had back here specifically for me to use for camping, and this is the case in the Crosstrek as well, is there's no way for me to lift open the gate. So what I end up doing is having to crawl out the side door and then go and open up the back. It's not a huge deal. It's just a little less convenient. I've even seen people do builds where they attach a little handle here so they can pop it open and open it up that way. It's just a bit of a nicer way to wake up in the morning. When we were camping out in Aspen, my wife and I would take turns who would have to climb out and open up the back. Because when you're sleeping and someone just opens up the back and you get this breeze of fresh mountain air in, it's a great way to wake up in the morning. So if you have any other questions about camping in general, check out the post below. I have a lot of equipment that I use while I'm camping, and I have it all listed below with links and prices and whatnot. And if you have any other questions about the 2020 Subaru Outback, check out Autoblog.com. What's up, y'all? Senior Producer Chris McGraw coming to you halfway through this behind the wheel. So I'm back in my office, and this is going to be kind of a bittersweet vlog for me. More sweet than bitter. This is actually the last time I'm going to be recording anything in this office, in this studio. Packing it up, and we're moving. So that's pretty exciting. Super pumped about that. I was cleaning off my desk for this move, and I realized I have a ton of pens from all these press trips I've been on throughout the years. Started Autoblog at 2013, so I've worked here most of this decade. I can't believe the decade's coming to an end. And, got pens from Acura. This pen is a Buick pen. It's my favorite pen I've ever gotten from an automaker, which is funny. I'm not a huge fan of their cars, but fan of their pens. Palais Coburg in Vienna. This was one of my favorite press trips ever, where I stayed in Vienna, Austria for the Rolls-Royce Wraith launch back in 2013. So this is the first year I started working for Autoblog. And this was kind of a crazy trip. I actually, the week before, had driven from Detroit to Glacier National Park, around 2,000 miles, and back. Took us 2 days to get there, 2 days to get back, and then as soon as I got back the next day, I flew to Vienna. And because all the travel, my sleep schedule was so messed up that almost the entire time I was on this trip, I was awake. Except for we got done filming, and we were about 2 hours from Vienna, so we had to drive the Rolls-Royce back. So I took a nap in the passenger seat of a Rolls-Royce Wraith, probably one of the nicer places I've ever taken a nap. And then this one's just from the Nomad last year, LA Auto Show. Anyways, let's talk about the rarest car that I've ever driven, maybe? $64,000 for this Subaru S209. That's a pretty crazy amount of money for a Subaru. In fact, it's the most expensive Subaru ever sold here. There's only 209 that are going to hit the market, so it is the rarest Subaru ever sold in the United States. It's also only being sold in the United States. So 209, that's it, across the globe. Now, technically, the one that I drove does not count towards that 209. If you look at the plate, it says 000 out of 000. So whether or not that's going to be crushed or just stored at Subaru, who knows, but that one doesn't count. So they did make more than 209 of these. It's the same 2.5 liter that Subaru has been using in the WRX STI, since it first came here 15 years ago. It's got a larger turbo. That turbocharger was designed by HKS. The WRX STI Type RA, which before this one was the most expensive Subaru ever made at $50,000. That turbo's boost was 16.2 PSI. The S209 is 18.9, so quite a bit more. It's a completely different catback quad exhaust, which I think it sounds good. I think it should be louder. So it could sound better. I was hoping for, especially like driving in low gear up the mountains, I was hoping for a better sound out of the S209. I thought it would be better. The normal WRX STI makes 310 horsepower. This one makes 341. We have a couple reviews up on Autoblog.com using a phrase that we used in the first review, which, as practical as any four-door Subaru, doesn't quite ring true for me. I would much rather have an Outback being stuck in traffic in Denver, which I experienced in the S209. But it was still a ton of fun. The tight steering, the short throw shifter made it a ton of fun driving up the mountains where there was no traffic. Inside the car, 6-speed manual, comes in manual only, but there are paddles on the steering wheel, which I thought were, if you take a quick glance, it may look a little weird having a manual car have paddle shifters, but the paddle shifters are actually for the IC spray. So WRX STIs of old used to have this, got rid of them. It is brought back in the S209, and it'll give you a boost on the track. The interior of the car, it was okay. It's like the interior of most Subarus. I've never gotten in a Subaru and gone, oh my gosh, this interior. The Outback XT that I just drove, that you guys just saw in this video, is probably the closest I've come to feeling that way about the interior. But the S209 interior, completely unremarkable. But it is fine. You got two color schemes on the outside of the S209. You can get white with gold wheels, or you can get blue with dark gray wheels. Inside, you get one choice, so you better like it. Also, the badging in that thing is everywhere. So if you're driving someone around in your S209, they will never forget that you're in an S209. There's badging on the floor mats. There's badging behind the shifter. There's badging on the dash. There's badging on the headrests. Badging everywhere. Like I said, on the road, the steering, incredibly precise. One of my favorite things about the car is how precise the steering is. The short throw shifter, super smooth, really fun, especially up in the mountains and driving through canyons. Though, for a track-specific car like this, a dual clutch or an automatic would make lap times faster. I still like the manual. Way more fun. The S209 has a limited slip front and rear diff. It's got 4159 rear bias torque split in standard mode. And it's got symmetrical all-wheel drive like Subarus are famous for. On the outside, it's got bigger air intakes. It's got pretty huge fenders. It's got vortex generators, which sounds like something off of a Star Trek ship. And it's got a huge hood scoop. Now, all of those things not only make the S209 look really cool, they are entirely functional. It also has the same carbon fiber roof that the Type RA has, and it has a carbon fiber wing on the back that I think is probably a little less obnoxious than the one that's on the normal STI. The tires are made specifically for the S209, so are the wheels. The blue one that I drove had satin gray wheels, and as I said before, the Pearl S209, that comes with gold wheels. I really wish you could get the blue S209 with the gold wheels. That's kind of the package that I like. That's what we had on our WRX back in 2015 when it first came out. That was a long-term car, but if you get blue, you're going to get gray wheels. If you get pearl, you get gold. All of that stuff helps the S209 achieve 1G of lateral grip when you're on the track. That's incredible. Plus, you'll stand out driving around town in this thing for sure. One of the bigger questions that I'm sure you're all thinking of about this S209 is this WRX worth $64,000? You can buy a WRX STI and an Outback and have an entire garage full of Subarus for the same price as just this WRX STI S209. Honestly, I don't care if it's worth $64,000. I'm not going out and price shopping an STI and an Outback versus this S209. If I care about the price, if I'm balking at all about this price, that just means that I was never really in the market for an S209 anyway. It's an incredibly limited vehicle. So think about this. In the United States, there are around 600 Subaru dealerships in all of the United States. There are only 209 of these cars being sold, which means most Subaru dealerships will never see one of these. That's crazy. And there's already been reports of S209 bidding wars pushing the price from that $64,000 into the $80,000 mark. I can list quite a few cars that at $80,000 I would buy over this. But that being said, the type of person who is buying an S209 is not buying it as their primary car to daily drive around town. It's probably their third or fourth car, and they're really into Subarus. So is it worth $64,000? To me, probably not, but they're all going to sell, and they're all going to sell for more than that. So I'm not really worried about the price at all. All I know is it was incredibly fun to drive on canyon and mountain roads.